What's up, everyone? Welcome to my podcast. This is episode 10. I've been consistent, although it has been a short period of time, but I am really enjoying this. With that being said, I wanted to talk about kind of the dangers of instant gratification and my diet, my training, and where I'm at in my surf career, and just like surfing in general. I think these are just, I don't know. I definitely I don't talk to a lot of people, but I do have people who ask me these things and kind of just makes me think about it. And obviously, I think subconsciously I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, and my wife off as well, because, my partner in crime. So we're kind of in it together, and we kind of just go along our days. And so I kind of wanted to share where I'm at. I'll start off with why I think, for the most part for me, but I'm sure people can relate, why I think instant gratification is kind of just a dangerous thing. Especially as a surfer and someone who has surfed for a really long time, and I've competed on a high level, and I've surfed some very dangerous waves, and you kind of you get this rush, right? You really get this adrenaline rush, and your endorphins just go skyrocket, and you get that at a pretty young age. And I think all surfers kind of experience this, and what happens is you get used to that feeling, and then when you're on land and doing your normal stuff, you kind of, for me at least, depending on who you are, but for me and just my upbringing and who I am as an individual, I go to a very depressive state, and you kind of just you just fall down like a dark hole, and you just feel really weird, and it's kind of hard to explain, and I think that's a big reason why, I don't know, I'm talking for me at least, for people to kind of turn to alcohol or some sort of drug, whatever. I've never really got into that. Obviously I have drank. I never really got into drugs ever. But with that being said, I think that's why people do that, because you just get an instant endorphin high. You just kind of spike your levels up, and and it's a dangerous place to be. So that's kind of where I want to jump into, is just for me now that I'm in my 30s. I definitely still struggle with things I'm not a big drinker by any means, although I do like to have fun and do that here and there, but that's something I really want to cut out of my life, is especially drinking when the waves it's flat, or I'm just bored, or whatever it is. That's where I get my instant gratification, right? You get that buzz, you get that feeling. You just get that little exciting feeling that I would get from surfing, big waves or anything really. And obviously you could do training and all that, but there's just some days where you're just I don't want to do that. Although no, that's the better thing to do. That's what you should be doing. But it takes time. If you're going to go for a 5K run, or you're going to train jiu-jitsu, or you're going to do whatever it is, weight train and all that, it takes energy, mentally, physically, and that's the healthiest way of doing it. And you feel great. But sometimes, if you get in that slumpy feeling of being lazy and just not really, you just want something easy and instant. That's why people usually go to that, alcohol or I don't know, whatever it is. I'm not going to touch base so much on like drugs and stuff because I haven't dabbled. I've never really gone that way. Although you could argue and maybe say alcohol is a drug. So, yeah. But for me, I always kind of would go drinking or whatever. And in the past, and I've never been a crazy drinker, but I think like anyone, we have our, it's like different seasons, right? 1 month you're doing great. The other month you're drinking a little bit more. You don't drink for a while. Whatever. I've kind of always been like that. But there was a time, maybe almost a year ago, where I got into a really dark place. And I kind of touched base on this. This is the 10th episode, but I kind of put this video where my mental health was at. And it's crazy because I feel it's like night and day where I'm at right now compared to where I was before. I just wasn't surfing. I was training very minimal, and I don't think my diet was horrible, but I would probably drink in 2-3 days out of the week. And then, after I drink, I'm like, I want to eat everything and put on weight. And it's just, I got to a really shitty place. And yeah, the instant gratification is a killer. It's not what it is. It's like the opposite, really. It's a very quick feeling of bliss for a little bit, and then it's just completely opposite. Everything kind of goes downhill. It doesn't fit with my goals, at least. So the past year, my wife is a big reason for this, but just getting me in the right mindset and stuff. But the past year, I've just really focused on my diet, my macros, really. So I'm not going to get into that, but I do count my food and I count my macros, and I've been losing weight. I've lost probably around 15 pounds, and I'm going to lose maybe 15 pounds more. I just want to be in a leaner state body-wise. But yeah, so obviously I do a 3-to-1, which is I'm in a deficit for 3 days. I do low carb, higher fat, body weight protein, 1 gram of protein per body weight. And then I do, on the 4th day, I do a high carb day. So, and it's a lower fat. So on the 4th day, I do around 300 grams of carbs, 54 grams of fats, and then my body weight of protein. And yeah, so I do that for 3-to-1 pattern. And I think right now, for a while now, it's been a slower process, but I've been definitely dropping the weight. I haven't been like to the T about it. It's definitely way more of a lifestyle change because I've been doing this for months. If I was just doing it like 30 to 60 days, just straight to the T, meaning like I almost have like an 80-20 kind of diet where 80% of the time I'm just eating whole foods and all at home, and then 20% of the time I'm having some drinks or doing whatever, eating and all that. And yeah, so the biggest struggle for me is just cutting out that instant gratification and and doing things that is great for me, but maybe I don't want to do, running miles, weight training, surfing when the waves are just absolutely flat, putting in the time and doing it with a purpose, and actually going out there with the mindset of progressing even when it's knee high, and putting that right energy in the water. So that's what I've been doing, focusing on that, focusing on my diet. Yeah, and I've just been running probably 5 days a week at least. Yeah, I think some weeks it's like 5 days a week. Sometimes it's all week. I'll run every day. It's been great for me. I know people have their, I don't know, I see a bunch of stuff but for me mentally, I never been one to like running. I don't really like running. So I've been adding that in, and I've been doing it for a little over a month very consistently. And mentally for me, it's been great, out there, eight something, 9 o'clock, sun's freaking cranking, and you're getting those miles in, and you're pushing your pace, and yeah, it's just you, and you have to put in the work, and I like it. And like I said, I just never been one to like to really run, and it's been good for me, and I've been feeling strong. My legs have been feeling really strong, even my joints. They've all been feeling really good, and when I could feel it when I surf, my legs feel actually really good. Like I feel really strong. So just been doing those things, and it's been really helpful. And even on the days where I don't want to, just getting it in there and feeling great. And some days it's a big struggle, with that instant gratification, in the sense of like going and getting some beers and, eating some pizza out, doing that stuff. And we're human, but at the end of the day, like, for me, it's a dangerous gamble because it can become a consistent habit. So I really try my best to just stay the course, stay the mission, because that's what it is. So that's kind of like the dangers of instant gratification for me, is just, you got to steer away from that. I touched base on my diet. Yeah, my training right now in the past 6 months, no, actually a little longer, maybe like 8 months. The past 6 to 8 months, mainly what my training has been on a consistent basis is I surf pretty much 5 days a week. I make sure to surf if the waves are surfable. I'm out there. I'll make sure to go out, like what I said, with the mindset of progressing, whether it's just staying light on my feet and staying compressed and active, doing cutbacks or whatever it is, I go to how I can surf, what the waves are offering, and that's what I kind of work on that session. And yeah, and then even just paddling out, like I paddle out, I make sure to use energy. I really push the pace. Like when I'm paddling back out towards the lineup, if it's 40 yards out, I make sure to put the work in. I'm not just coasting. So definitely like working on my my paddling endurance and that muscle endurance that comes with paddling. And yeah, and then weight training, just normal compound movements, deadlifts, squats at home, body weight movements, working my core a lot more. I never really liked core and running was just something I don't like doing. And yeah, so I've been doing that, and yeah, it's been great. I've been consistent and just kind of staying with it. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing for like diet, training, and my surf career at the moment. So like I said, I'm in my 30s now, and there are selected events that I'm doing with the region. And my biggest goal is and I think anyone's goal when they're competing, is to, win a professional venue. That has always been a huge goal of mine. I think my biggest issue I've had over the years, and most people too, who are competing or have that potential or whatever it is just being in my own way, self-sabotage. So I think that this stems from my childhood and just things I've developed and habits I've developed as a kid, even subconsciously, and not even realizing it as becoming just self-doubting my capabilities and a lot of the time and energy that I've put into the ocean, and just kind of doubting myself when the lights come on and it's ready and it's time to perform. And although I've tapped into that zone, and I've had great results, and I've won local venues and stuff, I've just never really been able to lock into the zone into a professional venue. And I think, yeah, when the stakes are a little higher, you just kind of, I just tend to get into my own head, maybe a little bit more so than a lot of people. And maybe some people do, and they just know how to deal with it a little better. So that's something I've been figuring out and working on. mental on the mental side of stuff. But that is a big goal of mine, is to win a professional venue. Do I have a one in mind? I mean, obviously, I'd love to win an event at like Sunset or Holly Eva, something like that, But just to be completely honest, too, as awesome as that may be, the most important thing for me, I don't know if this sounds a little cliche, but it's really just performing well. Like if I get into an event and I'm just really happy with the way I perform, like I felt like I just performed really good. Boards felt good. My mental state feels good. My surfing just feels on and it feels good. Then whatever the outcome is, I'm pretty stoked. But, it's been a long time since I felt that. And not to mention, like, I don't know, in the past 6-7 years, in the sense of doing like QS events, I've probably done only like 6. So it's there's not a lot of opportunities here in Hawaii for someone like me who's just like trying to do our region in QS. And when it's time to, put it on and shine, it's like you know what I mean? You got to make it count. So for me, it's like I have not been making it count when it needs to be. So very mental stuff. And yeah, so that's all I've been doing. I've just been focusing on, all that stuff that comes in on the mental side, dieting, training, and surfing consistently, and just avoiding like instant gratification, those things, and doing things for the long term, and yeah, I think that's the secret sauce. So that's the mission. In the sense of where I'm at in my surfing career is just there's some selected venues that I'd love to do well in, and that's my goal. Just be in top shape. Make sure that I'm mentally in top shape. For first and foremost, that's the key, and just putting it out there and working. Yeah, and that's kind of where I've been at. And yeah, feels good. Open up a little bit. Well, thank you for staying here if you have, and listening to me just talk. And until next time, aloha.